Welcome to our deep dive into one of World War II's most intriguing and little-known battles, the Battle of Castle Itter. Imagine a medieval fortress perched in the Austrian Alps, not as a romantic hideaway but as the stage for one of the war's most unusual confrontations. This wasn't just any battle. It involved an unlikely alliance of American soldiers, French prisoners, and even German defectors against a ferocious SS assault. Castle Itter, a centuries-old stronghold, found itself repurposed during the war as a prison for high-profile French political and military prisoners. Here, figures like former Prime Minister Paul Reynaud and tennis star Jean Barotra languished, their fates uncertain as the war drew to a close. But what if I told you that these prisoners would soon find themselves armed and fighting for their lives alongside their supposed enemies? The history of Castle Itter dates back to the 13th century, originally built as a strategic fortification. Its walls, thick and imposing, have withstood centuries of battles and sieges. However, the events of May 1945 would test its strength in unprecedented ways. The castle's transformation into a prison came with the Nazi regime's rise to power. High-ranking French prisoners, seen as valuable political assets, were housed here under strict guard. Despite the war's end approaching, these prisoners remained isolated, their future uncertain. Among them were significant figures like former French Prime Ministers Édouard Daladier and Paul Reynaud, General Maurice Gamelin, and Marie-Agnès de Gaulle, sister of Charles de Gaulle. Life within the castle was harsh. The prisoners, though treated with a degree of respect due to their status, faced the constant uncertainty of their fate. They found solace in each other's company, sharing stories and reminiscing about a France that seemed a world away. Their daily routines were monotonous, punctuated by the rare moments of news from the outside world. Yet, in the spring of 1945, as the Allies closed in on Germany, the prisoners sensed change in the air. The guards, previously strict and unyielding, began to show signs of fear and anxiety. Rumors spread about the impending collapse of the Nazi regime and the possible abandonment of the castle. This atmosphere of uncertainty set the stage for the extraordinary events to come. As the war neared its end, the castle's guards, many of whom were members of the SS, faced the dilemma of whether to fight to the bitter end or flee in the face of inevitable defeat. Their leader, Captain Wimmer, was torn between his duty to the Reich and his survival instincts. His increasingly erratic behavior only added to the prisoners' anxiety. One fateful night, the guards abandoned their posts, leaving the prisoners unguarded. The French prisoners were now free, but their freedom was fraught with danger. The surrounding area was teeming with SS troops, desperate and ruthless in their final stand. The prisoners had no choice but to seek help, setting the stage for the unlikely alliances that would soon form. As the Third Reich crumbled in early May 1945, Castle Itter became a microcosm of the broader chaos engulfing Europe. The castle's guards fled, leaving the French prisoners vulnerable. Enter Major Josef Sepp Gangl, a German officer who had grown disillusioned with the Nazi regime. Recognizing the dire situation, Gangl made a bold decision. He would protect the prisoners by joining forces with the Allies. Major Gangl was a man of principle, deeply disturbed by the atrocities committed by the SS and the Gestapo. His disillusionment with the Nazi regime grew as the war dragged on, culminating in his decision to defect. Gathering a small group of like-minded soldiers, Gangl sought out the advancing American forces, hoping to broker an alliance. On the American side, Major John T. Kramers led a reconnaissance unit tasked with securing the region. Kramers, a seasoned officer with a pragmatic approach to warfare, understood the complexities of the situation. When Gangl approached him with the proposal to join forces, Kramers was initially skeptical. However, he quickly realized the strategic advantage of such an alliance. In a historic meeting, Kramers and Gangl shook hands, forging an unlikely pact. This alliance symbolized a remarkable shift, former enemies uniting against a common threat. The French prisoners, initially wary of their German protectors, soon recognized the necessity of this cooperation. Equipping the French prisoners with weapons was a logistical challenge, but one that the combined forces tackled with determination. The castle's armory, though limited, provided enough arms to defend against an initial assault. The defenders, a mix of American soldiers, German defectors, and French prisoners, formed a diverse and determined group. They quickly organized themselves, assigning roles and positions for the impending defense. Inside the castle's main hall, a strategy session took place. Maps were spread out on a large wooden table, candles flickering in the dim light. Major Kramers, Major Gangl, and the French prisoners discussed their plan. Kramers, known for his tactical brilliance, suggested positioning sharpshooters in the castle's towers to take advantage of the high ground. Gangl emphasized the importance of fortifying the main gate and the castle's weak points. Throughout the preparations, there was a palpable tension in the air. The defenders were acutely aware of the stakes. They were vastly outnumbered, and failure meant certain death. Yet amidst the fear, there was also a sense of camaraderie and determination. They were fighting not just for their lives, but for a cause that transcended their individual backgrounds. The radio operator, a young American soldier named Tom, played a crucial role. He was tasked with sending out distress calls for reinforcements. As he fiddled with the radio equipment, trying to find a clear frequency, he couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Every second counted, and the lives of everyone in the castle depended on his ability to get through. Tom's persistence paid off. After several failed attempts, he finally established contact with nearby Allied forces. The message was brief but urgent. Castle Itter was under imminent threat, and reinforcements were desperately needed. Here's something to ponder. What would you do in the face of such overwhelming odds? Would you stand and fight, or would you seek another way out? The defenders of Castle Itter had no such luxury. They knew that their survival depended on holding the line until reinforcements arrived. On May 5, 1945, the SS launched their assault. The defenders, vastly outnumbered and outgunned, braced themselves for the onslaught. The air was thick with tension as the first shots rang out, echoing through the mountains. The diverse group of defenders, despite their differences, fought with a singular purpose: survival. The SS troops, relentless and ruthless, pressed their attack. They moved through the forest like shadows, their presence announced by the sound of branches snapping and the low murmur of orders. The defenders, watching from the castle walls, could see the dark shapes moving closer, a tide of men and weapons intent on their destruction. Major Gangl, despite being wounded in the early stages of the battle, continued to direct the defense with unwavering resolve. His voice, calm and authoritative, guided his men as they repelled wave after wave of SS attacks. His leadership was a beacon of hope for the defenders, inspiring them to hold their ground against overwhelming odds. The castle's defenses were put to the test. The SS troops concentrated their efforts on the main gate, battering it with explosives and heavy gunfire. Inside, the defenders used every advantage the castle offered, from its high walls to its narrow corridors. They set up barricades and firing positions, turning the ancient fortress into a modern battleground. Jean Barotra, the former tennis champion, proved his mettle as a fighter. Though more accustomed to the tennis court than the battlefield, he showed remarkable bravery. Armed with a rifle, he took up a position in one of the towers, using his sharp eyes and steady hands to pick off advancing SS soldiers. His athletic agility allowed him to move swiftly between positions, providing support wherever it was needed most. General Maurice Gamelin, despite his advanced age, also took an active role in the defense. He coordinated the efforts of the French prisoners, many of whom were former military officers. Under his guidance, they executed strategic maneuvers that kept the SS at bay. Consider this. What would you do in the face of such overwhelming odds? Would you stand and fight, or would you seek another way out? The defenders of Castle Itter had no such luxury. They knew that their survival depended on holding the line until reinforcements arrived. As the battle raged on, a radio operator managed to get a distress call through to nearby Allied forces. American reinforcements, including a tank unit, raced to the castle. The sound of tanks rumbling up the road was both terrifying and exhilarating for the defenders. They knew help was on the way. In a dramatic final push, the combined forces inside the castle, bolstered by the reinforcements, managed to repel the SS troops. The battle was fierce, but in the end, the defenders emerged victorious. The courtyard, once a place of imprisonment, was now a symbol of their hard-won freedom. As the smoke cleared, the surviving defenders, Americans, Germans, and French, shared a moment of unity. Their victory was a testament to what could be achieved when old enemies set aside their differences and worked together for a common cause. Major Kramers and Major Gangl stood side by side, surveying the aftermath. They had fought not just for their own lives, but for a shared belief in humanity and justice. The French prisoners, now free, expressed their gratitude and relief. They had faced death together and emerged as brothers in arms. Here's something to ponder. What does this battle tell us about the nature of alliances and enemies? In the chaos of war, friends and foes can blur, and sometimes, those who were once adversaries become the only ones you can rely on. The Battle of Castle Itter stands as one of World War II's most unique and fascinating stories. It's a tale of unlikely alliances, extraordinary courage, and the human spirit's resilience in the face of insurmountable odds. Today, Castle Itter remains a silent witness to its tumultuous past, a reminder of a moment when enemies became allies in the fight for survival. As we reflect on this incredible story, consider the lessons it offers. In the darkest times, hope and heroism can emerge from the most unexpected places, and sometimes, the people we think of as our enemies might just become our greatest allies. Thank you for joining us on this journey into history. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What other lesser-known historical events would you like us to explore? Until next time, keep exploring the past to understand our present and future.